We're live now. Good evening. Wave at the folks so they can see. Well, welcome to TNT on tonight. I'm good. I'm a little tired, but I'm all right. I just realized, the weather is changing, but our system ain't keeping up with it because it's kind of chilly in here. Well, if it's not good, that's great. I'm talking about for me it is. I'm a little chilly in here. They trying to make me end quickly, I guess. They don't want me to get comfortable tonight. They're like, maybe he'll end it early tonight. We'll see. Let's pray and we'll get started. God, we're so grateful for tonight and for this opportunity to come into your presence. So, God, we ask that you would continue to strengthen our minds and our hearts as we seek to be faithful to you. We ask, oh God, that you would just lead us on tonight and shape us in ways that we can't even imagine. In ways, oh God, that will deepen our discipleship and strengthen our fellowship, oh God. Most of all, oh God, just have your way on tonight. We love you, Lord. And this in your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Is Dawn here? She gone? Could y'all get Dawn for me for a second? Somebody just get Dawn. And close that door in the back too, Ricky. Thank you. Well, that's why you don't feel nothing. Well, it makes sense. If your face is, that's the part that ain't layered up. All right. Well, did y'all read? Y'all read for real? I just wanted to let Dawn know for next week that we might need some heat in here, and everybody's cold. I don't know if you noticed it was cold in here today, and everybody's acknowledging that it's cold in here right now. Yeah, but it's well, unfortunately, I'm just saying, unfortunately, that's what it is. Yeah, okay, awake. Okay, awake. We'll see. Yeah, okay. We're going to see. The longer you sit there, the colder you're going to get. We're going to see. Talk to you in 35 minutes. It's what? Yeah, whatever. Whatever. That was cute. So, any questions about what you all may have read? Any thoughts that came to mind before I get started? Anything at all? Nothing. So that means y'all didn't really read. That's what y'all telling me. So y'all didn't read. So who read and have a question? You have a question? And it better be about the reading. I don't want to hear nothing. Okay. What is it? I'm not. You had your hand up, and I don't want no bogus question. Oh, no. That means you was busy not paying attention. I said, who had any questions from the reading? But you raised your hand anyway with no question. Which one is it? You had a question or you didn't have a question? Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out what you're talking about. You wanted me to say, hi, Mary, I see you here. Are you happy I recognize you now? Betty, go ahead.
Well, I read 3 and 4, so I have questions.
Just make sure you can't move this.
Oh, I read chapters.
Is it on? It's on.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, my question on chapter 3 has to do with Jesus being a carpenter, which really, really appeals to me. However, the way I've heard this particular passage preached before, where his family comes after him.
Which verses you looking at?
Let's see. Well, first of all, on chapter 3, verse. Well, I'm reading chapter 3 and 4, but what I'm talking about is chapter 3 because
What verses?
Then he went home, and the crowd came together again so that they could not even eat. When his family
Hold on.
heard it,
Tell me the verses, babe, so everybody
that's
knows.
what I'm trying to find. Oh, verse 20.
Okay. Go
It's in
ahead.
the middle of this
Go ahead.
line. His family was concerned about him and came after him to save him. Then later
Hold
on,
on. Time out. Time out.
okay,
Time out. Time out.
when his family heard,
Hold on for a second. Chapter 3.
verse 20.
Read your verse 20
Oh,
again.
okay, 21.
Read your verse 21.
When his family
Okay,
heard
there you
it,
go. There you go.
they went out to restrain him. He was out in the, had come home, and they wouldn't even let him get in the house. Okay. He had gone out of his. People were saying he had gone out of his mind,
Okay.
and so that concerned his family. Then later on, down at 31, people came to tell him that his mother and his brothers came and were standing outside. They sent to him and called him. A crowd was sitting around him, and they said to him, "Your mother and your brothers and sisters are outside asking for you." And he replied, "Who are my mother and my brothers?" And in my Bible, it says it really didn't say sisters. And looking at those who sat around him, he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. Whoever does the will of God is my mother, is my brother, sister, and mother." Now, what concerns me about that, and wonder if it was changed, is that he was a carpenter.
Close the door.
He was a carpenter, and the family depended on his labor as well as every other kid's labor in the family. So what I like about Jesus is that, yeah, he was a carpenter and did his earthly duties. I mean, there was no EBT or Social Security or anything. He had to work.
Go back to what you said about his family depended on him. What do you mean?
As being, the oldest kid in the family.
Well, that's
and he
the
was a
assumption.
carpenter.
That's the assumption that the rest of the people are children. They're not. So that.
Okay, all right.
Why would
No,
you?
but
Why,
still-
my question would be: why would you make the assumption they would be dependent on him? Why?
I think in
Now his
families,
father's Joseph is still around, so we have to assume.
Yeah.
So why would they be dependent upon him?
for the same reason that when I look at my family,
You can't do that. You gotta look at you unless y'all living in first century
Okay.
Palestine.
I know they're going to say that. Even more so in first century Palestine, everybody had to work regardless of their ages.
What do you mean everybody had to work?
They had to work so that they could eat.
You mean work a job or work for food to get food? Why they had to work so they could eat? Women didn't work, so what do you mean everybody had to work?
Well, they did work. They took care of the household.
That's what I want you. So be specific. When you say had to work, now when you say work,
Okay.
when you brought in your family, when you say work, that's different. If everybody had to labor to make sure they were eating,
Yeah.
the second assumption is that none of his brothers are married.
Oh,
You're making a
okay.
lot of assumptions in this passage.
No, the one assumption I'm making is that as a carpenter, I think he had to do his work as a carpenter, which is fine.
Okay.
He was if he were just a minister then being a carpenter wouldn't be important to me. Being a carpenter is very important to me
Why?
because I believe it was one of his earthly jobs.
What was his heavenly job that you made it earthly? What was his heavenly job there? You said it was one of his earthly jobs. So what's the earth?
I think all of his jobs were earthly, but you know how I feel about heaven being here and hell.
I'm just trying to
being
get at where you're going with this.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying
So
to
the
get at.
reason I say that is that it was always preached that being a carpenter wasn't even mentioned. You're the only pastor I've heard mention him as a carpenter. Okay.
Well, the word that is used in the Greek is tekton, which refers to either it could be a stonemason or
Yeah.
a carpenter. It's either way, they're on the
Either
lowest
way,
rung.
It's a laborer.
Yeah, it's labor.
It's a laborer doing what I will call earthly work, although I think ministry is earthly also.
I would say works with his hands, probably is the best way to put it.
Okay,
Whatever
work
it
with
is,
his
he works
hands.
with his hands.
Yeah, and I think that was just as important to him and his family, whether they were young children or not.
Well, they weren't young children.
Yeah, okay. So they weren't. I just know they went looking for him.
Yeah.
And I think
Well,
for two reasons.
just you don't have to think for 2 reasons. The one reason is right there in front of you.
Yeah.
If people come to you and telling you that your brother, your son is crazy, you want to check on him.
You're going to check on him. Yeah.
Simple.
So I like that.
That what?
I like the fact that someplace in here that is recognized that they're acting, as plain old regular human beings, which they were probably.
You said probably?
They were, including him.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm still trying to get at this. You're saying that this passage highlights to you that he was regular? I mean, every passage highlights he was regular.
Yeah. I just picked that one. I mean, my book is full of notes,
Okay.
of questions.
I just want to get to it. Okay, I got you on that one. I got you. Anybody else? Chapters 3 and 4. Yes, in the back. Hold on, let's get this microphone first. I can't even see properly.
I was very intrigued with chapter 3 and starts at verse 2 where he has the shriveled hand and they were watching him so closely to see if he healed this man's shriveled hand. But he never said that you're healed or put anything on him or anything. He said, stretch out your hand. And when the man did it, they felt that they need to definitely have him killed. But did he heal? What made them think that he healed him? He just said, stretch out your hand.
Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, it's happening at his directive. And the reason why you can attribute that is because if you go back to in the first chapter and you take verse 28, when he healed the man with an unclean spirit, verse 28 says, at once his fame began to spread throughout the surrounding region of Galilee. So you have in that first chapter, you have the man with an unclean spirit. In the same first chapter, we're looking at his chapter, but look at it as a progression of his movement. Then you have him cleansing a leper. Then there's a paralytic. Then there's the call of a tax collector. And then you get this scene with the withered hand. So put it in a larger context. Who else they're going to attribute that to? Okay. So if you put into the context that he's already doing things, yeah, he told the man to stretch out his hand. We can talk about what that may have meant or the fact that he didn't say, hey, jump around 3 times, whatever. The point is that this is at his directive. So yeah, and it's a larger narrative that is spreading around him. If you go back to that chapter 1, before you get to verse 28, and verse 27, I guess, it says, they were all amazed and they kept on asking one another, what is this? A new teaching with authority. So something is happening that's going around that is making them really begin to question how he's moving and navigating. But yeah, it makes sense that they would do it. But it makes sense that they would be upset as well because of what he's doing versus what they're unable to do. You know what I mean? So it makes sense, Mary. And then we'll come over here. Well, stop back there first. And then we'll come now.
Good evening. I have two. One is a comment, one is a question. One comment is when I was reading it, I even asked like.
Hold on for a second. Who's upstairs? Can we turn these mics up?
It's probably me. I talk kind of quiet.
No, they all been kind of low, but go ahead.
Okay.
Well, then go ahead.
One of my comments was while I was reading it, I was like, why? I was getting annoyed with all the perishables. I'm like, can you just answer the question, But then to go to chapter 4, and they also were like, can you just answer the question? Like, why are all the parables? So I just thought that was funny that also that human moment she was talking about of that they also were wondering why all the perishables, why not just answer the question?
What parable? Because when you go to the 4th chapter, You only have the first time he introduces a parable. So what are you talking? What
I
do you
guess
mean?
when I was reading the whole book, so like,
Oh,
I was
okay, there
noticing
you
that,
go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, but so then he goes and explains like about his people, like those who of God will understand the perishables and blah blah blah. And that's my question was when I was reading through Mark, not just 3 and 4, but whenever he healed someone, he told them like, "Oh, you're healed," or he'll touch them. But I noticed that it also took them to do something for the healing to happen. In terms of like when he said, "Get up and walk," or to stretch out your hand, like they had to have the faith to also do that. Is that something? Would you? That's how I interpreted it. Would that be a good
That's
way
fair.
to interpret it as well? Like
That's
in
fair.
order for the healing to happen that you're asking for.
Well, you got to
also-
participate in your healing.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, yeah. Here then, Mary.
Just going back to where he heals the hand, there was a question just before that, I believe, where they ask about working on the Sabbath, if it's work to heal the hand or doing other types of work. How is that represented? And was it that you're not supposed to work on the Sabbath? But I think he questioned, or his question to them was, is healing work? Is that how we should interpret that?
Well, yeah. I mean, so the religious leaders and their adherence to the law it wasn't always consistent, you know. Sabbath violations were big. And you couldn't even, for example, you couldn't reap any harvest on the Sabbath. Like you couldn't go in the field and work, you know. They chastised the man by the pool of Bethesda for like carrying his mat on the Sabbath. Like it was very random, you know, but the point was that it was about keeping control of the people. Now, Jesus kind of obliterates this when he tells them another point. He said, you know, the Sabbath was made for us. We were not made for Sabbath. In other words, putting priority on human beings versus the law, which is a problem for many people. If their whole lives have been about adhering to this law, here he comes violating the law more than one time, and then he's challenging them on their Sabbath law, which is the idea of, you know, that you can't do anything on Sabbath, you know, and so he heals on the Sabbath. And the issue is that work or does that bring God glory? So what you find is that them kind of nitpicking with Jesus over these things, and he kind of throws it back at them, you know. Part of the reason when you said that he doesn't answer questions, I'm convinced there's some questions Jesus did answer. Now I'm convinced he did. Some he didn't. But for me, I like Jesus not answering because sometimes the questions aren't even real questions. The attempt is to try to either catch him or to trip him up. I mean, I'm familiar with that here. In my early years here, you know, people come here trying to ask me all kind of questions because I was doing all this different kind of teaching. They're not genuine questions. You know, and so his thing was, well, what do you think? You know, and that can be frustrating to people who are not trying to really learn, but they're trying to weaponize your actions or your teaching or your words. They're trying to weaponize your words against you. And so what he does in many cases is put that back on them. Well, what do you think? Well, what does the Bible say? How have you been living? To see if it's a genuine question. Have you thought about this, or are you just trying to find an angle to get me? So yeah, I think that's legitimate. But I think you find that. The reason why I like when you read Mark's gospel, it's this progression of Jesus's journey in some very accessible and relatable ways. It's not filled with things that seem so supernatural, not accessible. And so Mark's gospel is very, to me, of course, I said it's my favorite gospel, but it's very to the point. But it's actually easy to trace the movements if you look at him as a person. You start from this baptism and you see his own personal struggles with his mission in many ways. Initially, because people want to co-opt the mission. I think you dealing with someone who now all of a sudden, for whatever reason, decides this is the time where he's going to begin this ministry, where the ministry begins after his baptism, after the temptations. And there are a lot of people who know him, his family. You know, he's saying things and doing things. See, we're reading this from the perspective of believers, and we already sold out on Jesus. I want you to sit in this moment and read in this story and see how odd this would seem if you were somebody who was around at the time. This would seem strange, especially if you know him. Because look at the line. It says, go back to this line. though they were all amazed, they kept on asking them, what is this? In other places, they're like, well, isn't this Mary's son? They're very, I don't want to say happy, but some people are like, what is going on here? Just if you've known him, and then all of a sudden out of the blue, now he talking about he the son of God. Yeah, you would think something was wrong with him. We read these stories like we really sold out. If this happened and we were there, we'd be saying the same things. Because we're reading it from perspective of faith, not from a perspective of some people who might have been there in the moment actually watching this thing unfold. You know, if you've never seen anything like this before, you've never seen a person who couldn't walk, get up and walk again, or we would like to think our faith would increase, but we would have all kind of questions. You know, if it happened today, we'd be like, oh, that's a scam. That's the first thing. We'd be like, oh, nah, this ain't real. You know, we'd be like, oh, that's a setup. I mean, that's just how we're skeptical by nature, but no different than people then. You know, just was a different time. But yeah.
So I think I left my notes in my office, but I think it's in chapter 4 where he then tells the disciples that they're going to leave and to keep the boat near the shore so that so that he can escape the crowd, and because the crowd was getting larger, and that he felt. I think it's in chapter 4. I don't have my notes with me. I left them.
Yeah. Oh no, that's 5. Right before the storm, or right after the storm. Right before the storm. When they go to the other side, and that's at the end of going into the man and the Gadara. But yeah, and so go ahead, don't finish it.
No, I was just wondering if it was. I was wondering if he was saying it and preparing the disciples so that he can, one, escape, but also stop showing or performing miracles, because that's all people were gathering for.
He doesn't stop doing miracles, but he's not just going around healing everybody. I think people have to watch that because, you know, when you look in the Gospels, Jesus, every blind person in his region ain't getting their sight back. Every person who can't walk is not walking. There are tons of people who are not being healed. So you either can ask, well, why? Well, I mean, even when you get the text, the part where it says, you know, everybody brought all these folk to Simon's house and he healed them all. I mean, what does everybody look like in a region that's not super populated anyway? So it just depends. But I do think that he is keenly aware of how easy it is for one's mission and ministry to be upended by the needs of the people, and sometimes those needs are not shaped by what his primary call is. He points that out earlier. Now, it doesn't mean he doesn't perform any miracles. What he'll say later on, other parts, that miracles do not define his mission. That becomes critical. Whereas you have folk today in church, you'd be like, you know, I'm looking for my miracle, and you just pray for a miracle. But miracles was not the definitive aspect of his mission. He is not being viewed as an enemy because of miracles. He's being viewed as an enemy because of what's come out of his mouth. So that has to be understood. And miracles, he's not crucified because of miracles. If you look at the crucifixion narrative, it's not one person saying, now you wouldn't heal on Sabbath, we're going to kill you. Because Rome didn't care about the Sabbath. Sabbath was a Jewish thing. But what he was saying was troubling to religious leaders because it's undermining their authority, and undermining their authority connected to how they understand the law, right? So you have to always to me, what happens is when we read the Jesus stories, or even any story in the Bible, what makes it complicated is that we don't look at the stories as part of a human journey, right? We look at them as though they're so far away that everything seems supernatural. Oh, I could never do that. And I think one of the things about the Mark version of the story, again, I'm going to say, I knew that sweater would come on in a minute, that short sleeve shirt. Make us feel like we old and cold. All right. Make sure on the way out today or to Sunday, you tell Dawn I was really cold Tuesday. You make sure you tell Dawn that. Just tell her I was really cold on Tuesday. And be like, I don't know if I'm going to come at the TNT if you don't have no heat on. So it is cold. It's called thinking about everybody else that's in here. Okay, I'll wait my fussing for later. But I think one of the things we have to always keep in mind is to keep this, don't make the story like the way we look at Superman or something like that. Look at the story, read the narratives, and look at the journey. That's why I started here. I know you heard me. Exactly. So you ain't thinking about nobody else gonna be cold in here. We all in here cold, putting on coats, but you good. So I knew she was watching, that's why. But no, and I know you're still watching, Dawn, by the way. But I think that's the biggest thing to me. We make the Bible complicated because we don't think of these people as people. We don't think of them as people. They are human beings, right? If there's some legitimate questions, here's some legitimate questions I think people can ask. Well, if they're human, why this stuff ain't happening now? Why don't we see this happening now? Why don't we see someone coming up from the dead? Why don't we see these things now? That's a legitimate question. Are we so faithless now? Is that the issue? Are we so lost now that God doesn't work wonders anymore? What is the issue? You think there's too much going on? Or maybe the stories were a little bit exaggerated. So which is it? See, when you make a comment like that, then people are like, oh, he messing with the Bible now. No, it ain't true. Stop. Yes, sir. Yeah. Go ahead, Pastor Trey. And this one over here for Mary. You got the mic over here?
Thank you, Pastor Mike. Also, in that statement you said, I think when we look at the Bible and people have these questions about the lack of miracles we see today that were in the Bible, I think we also have to kind of redefine how we look at miracles.
There we go.
Redefine what a miracle is today. If we go in the hospital right now, I see a lot of miracles. If we look at treatments for diseases that would have taken humans out 100 years ago, I think that is a miracle. Yeah. If we look at cancer treatments extending lives, where at one point, cancer was, a quick death, that is a miracle. Mm-hmm. So I think that when we don't see things how we think they should look, we don't really look at them as miracles anymore because they don't look like what we see in the Bible. So no, we're not gonna, see stone turn into bread, but you can see someone getting cured from a once incurable disease now today, and that itself is a miracle.
Yeah. So good. Hold that mic. Don't give it up. So ain't no more stones that gonna turn to bread?
There might be.
Where they at? I need to see the stones bread.
Put your hand out, Reverend.
So we don't need stones bread. Go to the store.
They told me I need to cut out carbs. So I don't know. Turn that stone to something else, please.
He said, turn that stone.
I don't need no bread.
I say that, the reason I raise that question is not because, it's because of, and it's where we started in this journey, of our literalism of the Bible, right? Like I had this conversation the other day with someone, and I said, so many religions are fixated on, well, this is the truth. The question is, why are we so fixated on what the truth is? Well, my religion is the truth. Well, no, why are we fixated on what the truth is? And we lie all the time. Why all of a sudden we well, this is the truth. And the people who want to know if this is the truth be lying. So how valuable is truth to you? Or does it make you feel comfortable believing that somehow this story you bought into is the truth? Yeah, back there, I want to hear that. I felt like you might have had an answer. Hold on a second. This is part of my, I'm not going to be here all night, but this is still part of my taxing to the text, in case you forgot.
I've had multiple friends that are very much like by the book Christians, and they will happily go back and forth with people of other faiths, like, oh, you're the wrong one. Mm-hmm. And it's all about if they're worried about going to hell, the condemnation of it all. Like if I don't do this, if I don't believe in Christianity, then I'm going to hell. So it's that fear of hell, the fear of doing it wrong, the fear of God smiting them down. Like that's why they feel like I have to follow it the right way. I can't believe in Muslim. They can't be right, because if they're right, then also it makes them question everything, of course, as well, that they've learned their whole lives. So it's a question of themselves and also the fear of going to hell, based on the people I know.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. But here's where Christianity is confusing. Well, not Christianity, I guess, where people are confused, right? Why? This is a good conversation. Because my question would be, if you read the Bible, especially the teachings of Jesus, what they do, why are you worried about? So why are you worried about hell? That's the question. If you believe that Scripture said there's nothing you can do, that's why grace is a free gift. What then can you do to go to hell? Because you didn't do nothing to get grace and to get God's favor. So all of a sudden, what do we like? It doesn't make sense. I'm speaking as an Orthodox Christian for a second, not where I am, but if I say Jesus paid it all, then what I got to do? Like the rationale behind it doesn't make sense to me. And it always suggests to me that people have been kind of held in control by this idea of you got to be a certain, or you going to hell. But then the scriptures don't, Paul talks about what Jesus did, and it don't even line up with that. Because if he says that if grace is unearned, right? Because when he says faith without works is dead, it's not works to go to heaven or hell. It's works to fall in line with your faith. So if I say my faith, so here's it, because people think when they hear works, they think works is so I can get to heaven. Works is so I avoid hell. No, if I say love your neighbor as yourself, the works is connected to my love. And do I practice or exemplify my love by loving my neighbor? That's the works connected to what you believe. So you people, if you thought you worried about going to hell, well, did you say Jesus died for my sins? Or only if I gotta, what's the path? That's real talk. What's the pathway to avoid hell? What do we think that is? Because this is a good conversation. We don't even talk. How do we avoid hell? Come on, let's hear it. Read the Bible 3 times a day? How do we avoid hell? Only, what does that mean? Yeah. Hold on a second, hold on. Get the mic real quick. I want you to hear this. He said, only believe the works of Christ. What does that even mean? Well, sounds good.
Well, the perfect life that he lived for us.
All again, back up. Perfect life, what does that mean?
Complete. The perfect in Greek and Hebrew means complete.
Okay, what does a complete life mean? So you're giving me these phrases. Yeah. I'm gonna punch you back with them because you got to define them. You can't just see. Let me tell you why. Traditionally, that could be said in some spaces. They're like, "Oh yes, brother." No, I need to know what you mean because I don't know what a perfect life. I don't know what the complete life of Jesus means. What does that mean? To the perfect works or the works of Christ. What does the works of Christ mean? Now, you also notice I don't use Christ a lot. There's a reason. What's the reason, you think?
Because the term Christ is the big word, which goes back to...
For which means what?
The original name of Christ is Messiah, HaMashiach.
Messiah is not his name. Messiah is a title. We go. So that's not his name. Christ is a title, the anointed one. The Messiah, that's a title. We say Jesus Christ like that was his last name. So that's his title. So when you say the perfect works of Christ, the perfect works of a title, so I'm pushing you back. So this is Jacqueline Grant wrote a book. Oh man, I can't remember when this came out. Had to be in college. Beautiful book, Jacqueline Grant. She's a theologian, black woman, womanist theologian. She wrote a book called White Woman's Christ and Black Woman's Jesus. She makes this distinction how Christ is in alignment with ideology connected to power and position. Jesus, our ancestors didn't go around saying, there's not a friend like the lowly Christ. You didn't hear that. There's not a friend like the lowly Jesus. A friend in times of Christ wasn't the friend. Christ a title. They did not resonate with the title. They resonated with an individual who they felt could understand their suffering. So all that. So what happens in Christian, I like what you said, though. I actually like it. It helped me. You always want to help. Somebody always help me teach. It's that in Christianity, we have a lot of phrases and terminology that we speak that don't go question, but don't nobody really know what you're talking about. But no one wants to be like, what you talking about? So if I press you and say, go back to what's the first phrase you said? Something of perfect works.
The perfect work of Jesus.
He was like, that's a quick stern. He was learning quick. Let me get this right. No, but again, when we hear that, so the word, when I hear someone say that to me, what stands out to me is perfect works. What are perfect works? Turning tables over in the temple? So when we hear the works of Christ, when Orthodox folks say that, traditional work, they mean he died for my sins. The works, though, is the work of Jesus. So is it a perfect work to go to religious leaders and tell them, y'all snakes? That's part of his work. You see? If he say, man, don't nobody need to listen to y'all. Y'all say the right thing, but y'all don't live it. Is that calling people out? That's the works. See, so when you say general works, I have no idea what that means. And when people agree with that, they're buying in. It's what I said a few weeks ago about language, this shared meanings that don't go challenge or question, right? So we do that big time in church. Church, sometimes some of the safest places we could say things that actually don't make sense. And nobody question it. It really don't make sense, but we in church. I mean, it must be right. It sounded right, And I want to do the Jesus move. I want to just challenge, like, okay, well, where did you get that from? So that's why it's difficult at times for people who come when they hear me teach, because they think that I'm antagonizing or I'm anti. No, I'm pressing you. What do you mean when you say boom, 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 boom? Instead of assume we all know what that means, not just you, anybody. Go ahead. I'm trying to rouse some folk here tonight. Oh, let me get this mic for you.
Hi, thank you.
Hey.
So for me, when you say, okay, what is it that we have to do to stay out of hell? I used to think you got to be a good person, right? And that's just very vague. It's like, well, what is a good person?
Yeah.
So I'll say loving when it's hard, sharing maybe when you don't want to, because we're human and we always don't want to share, doing the right thing when it's easy to do the wrong thing, things like that. And then someone said,
don't go nowhere. Stay right there. I love those three things you just said, right? Here's the big deal. Can you remember what you just said?
Yes.
Say those three things again.
Loving when it's hard, sharing when you don't want to, because we don't always want to share, even when we have it. We always don't want to share. And doing the right thing when it's easier to do the wrong thing.
Now pause. Those three things don't require you to be a Christian.
Hello.
I said those three things don't require you to be a Christian.
Right.
That makes you a good person, a human being.
Mama,
See, this is what I'm trying to get at. They asked Martin Luther King who was the greatest Christian. I said before, who's the greatest Christian? Who was the greatest Christian he knew? He said Gandhi. And Gandhi was a Hindu.
hello.
Right. What I want to take away is this kind of, I'm going to hold off and let you finish. Go ahead. Those three things are good, but they're not three things you have to do to be as a Christian.
So then someone said, well, being a good person isn't enough to get you into heaven. And they said, read the Bible. And then I started reading the Bible. I started from Genesis, and then I just really got confused because so many crazy things was happening. And
you got to ask yourself, are they going to heaven? Because they violent.
Right. I mean, crazy things going on, starting with Genesis. And so then I was like, okay, I just have to really get deeper into this word, but I'm interested to see what you say to that. Because you said those three things aren't enough.
I didn't say they weren't enough.
Oh, those three things you don't have to be a Christian
That's
for.
right. What you just named to me, you don't have to say, I believe in Jesus treat somebody well, to share when you don't. Anybody, I could be anybody to do that, right? So that's what's important. It's for me. You're not gonna get from me a whole lot of conversation, and people got issues with this with me about hell. And I tell people I talk about hell as much as Jesus did. I mean, I talk about hell as much as Jesus did in the Gospels. He don't talk about it a lot. So instead of fixating on what he don't talk about a lot, let's talk about what he talk about a lot. About love, about tending to those who are vulnerable, the poor, to making sure. I mean, those we're gonna get hung up on what about the. I'm gonna talk about hell. Well, I say a bunch of stuff every week about what Jesus, what he says we ought to do. We don't get fixed on that. What it boils down to is that we want to be gatekeepers of goodness. And we want to be able to say, we think who going to hell and who not, because we want to differentiate. It is a fixation we have. I see that we have. We can't just be who we are on our own. We can only excel at what we do by tearing some other group or somebody else down. That is a sickness that permeates this country and people. When we feel the only way to rise is to tear another down. The only way to excel is to not be forthright. That's not the way of this movement at all. That's why it's so countercultural. That's why it's so challenging. Go ahead.
So I want to say to that we are more alike than we are not alike.
You better believe it.
Because we are all imperfect. We all do wrong things sometimes. And right, it's to differentiate and but we're really the same.
We are. We not. It's not like we are the same. Shade of your none of that means anything. It doesn't mean anything. We make it mean something, right? We are the ones who discriminate. God is not. Hey, don't trust them black folk over there. That's what we do. That's what we do. We differentiate. We use the difference to become divisive. Difference is not necessarily divisive. Difference means imagination. For me, I mean, look at all these different people in here right now. God got a good imagination. But it doesn't mean I'm superior or whatever, right? We abuse Christianity in our culture. We abuse Christianity, and we use it for our own desires and devices. We don't really take it as something liberating, as a liberating ideas to help free people. We hold people captive. I've seen people committed to psychiatric wards behind Christianity, behind churches that had people going crazy, telling them all these things. You can't do, you can't be, you can't, and robbing them of life. It is deep to me, but it also says something about our vulnerabilities and our need. For example, when they say a lot of young people are going to church or whatever, it's because they are trying, it's generational too, right? So you're looking at a younger generation, some people who've seen a lot of bad things happen, right? My generation is the first generation after the civil rights movement. We're all about that, fight the power of life. And we were raised, I'm sitting in a classroom, born, right, 3 years after Martin Luther King is killed. And I'm being raised in the aftermath of one of the most liberating periods in the history of this country, from the civil rights movement, the women's liberation movement, the gay rights movement, the anti-war movement. All that is happening at the same time. So I'm coming out of that. I'm like the offspring of that. People born in the from 70 to 80, we're dealing with a world differently. We've seen opportunities created by struggle. And we're being told that narrative constantly. My fourth grade teacher from Alabama came to New York, and she started teaching, but she grew up in segregated Alabama, right? And would tell us those stories. As a little girl, she couldn't go to certain parts of her community, couldn't go to certain places, black only. She saw that, and they told us those stories. And on top of that, they taught those stories. So it was hard for us to be disconnected from the narrative, because what wasn't being said in books was being told to us by the people who lived this. right? So they want to talk about, we read something in a social studies book, and then they would hit you with, well, I remember when I was a little girl, boom, 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 boom. Or my grandfather, this back in the early 70s, you had teachers, my grandfather was a slave. Like, to hear that, right? Or my great-grandfather was a slave. I think right now about my granddaughter, right? Just think about how close that connection is. My granddaughter knows her great-grandmother. That's how close, when you hear somebody say, my great-grandmother or father was a slave, you know how close that is to where you are now? So when you have people in my generation hearing older folks say, my grandfather was a slave, my great-grandmother was a slave, people they knew, right? Their stories were different. The only way you can fool someone about their history is if nobody's telling them about it. We use Christianity in some strange ways. I wish Christianity across the board was being used as a tool of liberation or empowerment. Historically, Christianity has been used as a tool of oppression, historically. To manipulate, to control, to disempower. Well, yeah, to kill, for sure. Definitely to kill. So you're going to have someone walking in church talking about God is love. Watch this. Watch this. God is love. Jesus my Savior. And let's go blow up this abortion clinic. My God. That work don't line up with Jesus. This is what we're going to do in the name of Jesus. Or somebody, or like me, religious views are different than yours, and you feel that some righteous call to now threaten my life. I can look at that and be like, that's not of God. Now somebody might have warped your thinking, but that's not of God. Right? So I'm sorry, I'm on another tangent.
Excuse me.
Okay.
I'm right here.
And that's why you're gonna get ignored, because right there. So you're gonna let me be the teacher, right?
You're the teacher.
Okay, good. I just wanna make sure you're gonna let me be the teacher.
Okay.
Because if not, you could change seats. Come on, you wanna do this?
No.
Good, so wait.
Okay.
You gotta finish. You or something else.
Thank you for that. I'll give you the mic in 1 second. It's the last question.
All right.
So I just was going to say, to add that the most confusing thing to me when I started reading the Bible, I mean like really, really reading the Bible, was that the characters, because I'm reading it as a book, so there's characters in a book, right?
Uh-huh.
The characters were Jewish.
Okay.
And it took me, I still haven't gotten to the part where we went from Judaism to Christianity.
Okay.
Because I'm still in Joshua, because I'm reading really slowly.
As you should.
To me, that was the most astonishing part, because when you say religion has been used to separate people, cultures, societies throughout centuries since the beginning of time, it is true. I never would have known Judaism and Christianity were connected on any level. If you say religion, you think of separation. However, there's a connection because everybody is Jewish in the book that I'm reading, because I haven't gotten to the Christianity part.
Well, you're not going to get to Christianity necessarily. Christianity don't exist in the Bible.
Wow. Oh, thank you. So, because I'm reading, like, I can't wait to get to when they go to Christian. I'm just like, well, I'm waiting till when we get to the Christian part.
Hold on for a second.
So, you blew my mind.
Wait a minute.
Like, what?
I said that you're not going to get to Christian in the Bible. Today was like, spoiler alert. Like, you start reading it. Right? You're going to get to the whole end. Where the Christians at?
I really am.
You're going to be in Revelations.
Like, well, I'm waiting. Like, I'm waiting to the part where...
Let me just say, there'll be no part where you're going to say, aha, here are the Christians. Like,
so
for real.
Where did Christianity come from?
Man, this is such a good question. But this is why, You say that? No, yeah. But this is why, good thing. He said Bible basic. This is why you see our teaching, this will go on a rotation. With all these new folk we got coming in leadership, Bible basics will be a yearly rotation. Because this is so good. Because think about it, you're in church, you're not the only one. Tons of people are in church and don't really know. You know what I say to people sometimes? Sometimes I think it's dangerous to pick up a Bible and start reading. Right? Anybody here is a lawyer by training? Oh, of course, I got a few. Y'all around here, right? Well, we ain't counting you. Yeah, we count you. Yeah, we appreciate you now, but what I realize, and I say this all the time. Tell me your name, sister. Dominic, I ain't forgot about you, Mary, by the way, since you controlling me. Dominic, but you gotta hear this. How do I say this? The problem, why I think Christianity why it has become problematic in many ways, and why it is challenging and troubling in some ways, is not just because of poor practitioners, but poor practitioners disguised as teachers. Right? The reason why I ask lawyers, I've said this example tons of times, right? Whitney, you work for a law firm, right? Okay. Watch this. If I go to your law firm to get a job to practice law, what are they going to look for? Go ahead.
You needed to have gone to law school, and even if you're a first-year associate, you would have needed to go into law school and at least sat for the bar. So if you're a first-year associate, you don't have to have passed it yet. You need to have at least sat for the bar. But if you're more senior than that, then you need to already have a license in a jurisdiction that we have offices in.
Okay, good. So she just said, if you first you're gonna have to go to law school, and then you're gonna have to sit for the bar. And that first year, you may let you slide, but you're gonna have to pass the bar at some point. You're not gonna move up in this company. Okay. Yeah, you won't keep the job. So the thing about this is that who in here has had any kind of legal case before? That you had to go to court, right? Okay. This is see a lot of y'all lawyers in here. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I'm taking my stuff out of here. So I've gone to court on different issues. Let me tell you something. But Nat, I ain't hiring nobody who's not a lawyer to represent me. And I don't mean that you like law, or you read a few law books, or you went on Wikipedia, you said, or watched Law and Order. Right? Because that ain't gonna cut it. But Dominique, the problem is that in many churches, there are people who are leading some of these churches who have zero credentials. And what happens with many people, we make the assumption, because I saw Pastor so-and-so name, we make the assumption about credentials and training and preparation, right? I would never tell you to just go read the Bible. If it was only about reading, then we don't need to be in here together. And if I told you to read the Bible, I'm going to tell you which one to read. And if you tell me, I say, are you know anything about the religion? No. I said, go get a Message Bible. Start reading the Message Bible, because it's in language that's accessible, right? But you ask and raise a real issue. You go ahead.
Do you know anything about religion? I would say, well, yes, I'm a Christian. I was baptized when I was a baby, went to Baptist church when I was a child, but never read the Bible.
Yeah.
And really had no idea that it was based on Judaism until I started reading it. And I'm like, okay, they have all of these laws. Don't eat this, don't do this. Like, are we following this? Are we not following this? Like, what's going on? Oh, but this person is doing this crazy thing. And the two sisters are getting with their father, giving him wine. Like, well, what's going on?
What's really going on in this story?
So they can keep the lineage going. Like,
But watch this. But then somebody gonna say to Neza, "I'm gonna live like the Bible." Which part?
right.
Where's your family from?
Harlem.
Where's your family?
So my grandmother's mother is from Elizabeth City, North Carolina, and then they migrated up to New Jersey, and then they migrated to Harlem.
Okay, so both sides of your family are from.
Not my father's side.
Where's he from?
His mother is from Puerto Rico, and his father is from the Netherlands.
Okay, so peep this, and that's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
But I didn't grow up with him. So when
no,
you
but this is
say
important.
like,
No, this is important. Even what you just said,
okay.
right? If I were to put a book in front of you before this conversation in the history of the Netherlands, you might not have read it unless you want to know where your people come from, or Puerto Rico for that matter. You know, my point is that the scriptures is really the history of a people. That's the Jewish people. It is their story. Mm-hmm. The way we become grafted into the story is through the teachings of Jesus. In this way, when Jesus gives direction to his disciples to take his teachings and spread them all over. Now, if we really did this, if we really did this, and this is the part people gotta understand, I hope this makes sense. If Jesus was interested in expanding religion, we would have all been Jewish. Right. And he would have made circumcision for men the requirement. So if Jesus was trying to really expand religion, he failed because he didn't really convert folk to Judaism per se. If Jesus was trying to start another religion, I don't know what that religion is because he never disavows Judaism. Jesus did not start Christianity. People did. Okay? There's not one place in the entire Bible you're going to see Jesus said, be a Christian. Jesus didn't even know what Christian was. Jesus died and left this place without even knowing what Christianity was, because that's not what he was trying to do. So the real question becomes, and this is where people don't like to answer the question. I'm going to get here, and then we come up front. And Mary, then back there. What was he trying to do? That's a fair question, right? Let's suspend that question for a second, and let's go back to Mary. Then we're gonna go back here. Go ahead, Mary.
So since I forgot what I was going to ask you earlier.
That means it wasn't important.
Hold the phone. It's no.
Go ahead. I am. Go ahead.
So when she spoke about hell, I'm saying it now, and I always will say this because of my experience. Hell is not a location; it is a state of being.
Yeah.
So if you live in a life in connection with Jesus, then I guess that would be our heaven.
Well, no, not just that. If the kingdom of heaven is within, that means hell is within too.
Well, yeah. Well, that's my point.
Yeah.
So we so busy trying to get to the goal, but there's no end. I think that's why when you look at the Bible, it's a never-ending story. Because now, that's why I love this church. I love you, Pastor Mike. I'm serious. I know I get on your nerve, but you know what?
My nerves?
Yours and a few other people. But anyway, just the fact that is relatable about this hell place, because we create a lot of things ourselves. We created the hell. So when you hear about, if you do this, it's all about control. They're telling you if you don't do this, you're going straight to hell. And then we take it as verbatim. But when you start living a life and you turn your life around, do a 180 like myself, I'm still learning. It's not something that
But
now
you're committed to it.
I woke up, yes, I'm committed to.
Hold on. How long you been a member of this church? Since when?
Well, I came the year after you on my birthday. So we
05.
celebrate July 25th.
I want you to hear this. 05.
Yeah.
Right? and you still come to TNT.
Yeah. And I'm still coming to TNT.
I want you to hear that. But I want you to hear that.
Yeah.
There are some people who in this church who feel like they've outgrown TNT.
Nah. Mm-mm. Those are the ones that don't need the Jesus.
They think they done heard it
They
all.
sanctified and
The reason why, Dominique, you can get a church, you can get a seat in here on a Tuesday and struggle on a Sunday, because some folk feel that Sunday is all you need.
No.
Versus learning.
Yeah.
So you could have been here on a Sunday, watch this, come in Sunday after Sunday, and it wasn't until you start looking at the Bible you realize, hold on, what's this Judaism thing? That's the stuff you get from teaching. So
Wait, just real quick. So, and then you speak about, I keep hearing the term Jewish. I've never seen that in the Bible. I see Jews.
Well,
So
you're not
is
going to
that a
see
difference?
You're not going to see Jewish. Jewish, you're not going to
Well,
see
see,
it. But Hebrews, Israel,
Right.
but it's the same. Yeah, it's like Negro and black. You don't walk around. If someone at your job was like, you know, Negroes and their attention, like, you be like, my brother, what? So just think of the evolution. It ain't even complicated. Think of it like that. Then I'm gonna walk around here talking about some writing paper. I'm interviewing this Negro now for right here in the system. Right there, yeah.
I'm not super hung up with the miracles, but I am curious about, earlier you were talking about the Greek original of like carpenter.
Tecton, yeah.
Tecton, and how it has different meanings in English, in interpretation. Is there a similar sort of version of that for miracles? Is it like perhaps like a broader original Greek word that can be translated more broadly than like English miracle? Does that make sense?
I'm sure. I will have to go look at what the differentiation of that word in Greek.
Okay.
I've never personally felt inclined to look that up, just for me. So I will do some work on that. But my point in raising miracles is that many believers feel that miracles are the measuring stick. Or, you know, I had someone say to me one time, this is some years ago when I shared my condition, and they came to me and was like, we're going to pray for a miracle for God to heal you. And I said, and they thought I was crazy. I said, well, don't do that, because that ain't going to happen. Now, you could hear me as a pastor, but, oh, you don't trust God, you don't believe in God. Wait a minute. It ain't that. It's that there's some things we got to accept just are. For my condition to go away or to reverse, it will take, I don't even know what it would take. Because there are things I was just not born with. No matter how, I'm gonna say right now, we could fast for a year. I promise you, at the end of the year, I'll be the same way. Now, the flip side, though, is we don't call it miracle. We'll say the progression of medicine. So now medicine has so fixed it that somewhere down the road, somebody was able to create synthetic antibodies that they then infuse in my system every month. So it doesn't take away my condition. It enables me to live relatively normally and not be overwhelmed by infections every week. That is what you would call the miracle. That's the power. So the fact that 40 years ago, folk was dying from this, not knowing where they died from. Now if they get treated, they find out there's a treatment. But for me to be like, I'm going to pray for God to reverse this, but why would I pray to God to reverse it? If I'm a Bible person, God said I make the blind and the deaf. So why would I sit there and be mad at God and be like, you know, yeah, I don't very rarely, but it's just interesting. So I'm like you, I'm not hung up on miracles in as much, and I'm not hung up on miracles because Jesus wasn't. That's my primary reason. So, sister here, I'm going to get back where I was going, though. I forgot.
Okay,
Mary
so
took me off.
I kind of have like two questions, I guess.
Go ahead.
So.
Hold on, before you say anything, what was your name again?
Sky.
Sky, that's right.
Yeah.
I want y'all to first understand how important this conversation is. And Dominique, you really helped. You helped me tonight. You reinforced to me why this is important, why TNT is important. Because people can go to church their lives and still think what you thought, not knowing, because we're not compelled to either learn or we're not sitting under someone who teaches. Because in a lot of places, TNT is like a mini Sunday. You get a sermon, you get somebody singing, and we go home. It's not always a classroom, right? And it's a different kind of classroom because I let you all determine the agenda. I come with my little agendas, and I let y'all ask questions and blow my little agenda up. But I'm fine because it's done in the name of learning, right? So go ahead, Scott.
So to piggyback off of what you said that Christianity was man-made. And I'm kind of like thinking now, who and why, not who and why, but why do we, identify ourselves in a certain religious group? Mm-hmm. And when we do so, why can't we, it's making me think kind of, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Say that again.
It's making me think.
Say that part right there again.
It's making me think.
Making you think, Lord, yes. Yes, I want us to think.
I'm like, well, now I'm really thinking about it. I'm like, well, why did I wake up and grow up and say, I'm a Christian, but it's really like if I believe in God and I believe in the teachings of Jesus and I follow, at least I try to follow, you know what I'm saying? Why can't I just really just say that instead of Christianity if I don't even know what it is that I'm saying?
You surely can. You can. But I want it to be informed by knowledge. Right. If you ever hear me say it, I say I'm a Christian. I'm going to say it the same way for most of who takes the teachings of Jesus seriously. That's what I say. Because there are many Christians who do not. In fact, that's the Christianity that gets paraded a lot now. Right? Is Christianity free of Jesus? Except as a mascot, right. A tagline, and they often say Christ, pay attention to that, right? And I just want to spread the love of Christ. Christ ain't no, because if you say Jesus, though, it puts it somewhere else. If I recognize Jesus, I got to recognize his context. And then if I'm on the other side, if I'm a white evangelical or white Christian nationalist, I can't use Jesus that much. So the Christ is always the language. Because Jesus makes me look at how he was and how he grew up. And I would also know the people who I taught down about were more likely like Jesus. You see what I'm saying? So it's very intentional in terms of language. But you're right. You're getting closer. I saw you raise your hand when I made a statement about when I talk about the Gandhi thing and all that stuff, because the real thing is, when I talked about what did Jesus come to do? Right. See, that's the question then. If Jesus doesn't come to convert people to Judaism, if he's not invested in starting a new religion, because nowhere does he ever say, hey, I'm on a mission to start a new religion, what did he come to do? This is the question that most people don't answer or don't think about. What did he come? And then somebody will say, we came to die for my sins. What did he come? So get your second question out, and I'm going to go back.
And I also believe that's true. I feel like right now I'm kind of struggling trying to read the Bible, so it makes me feel better that you said, you wouldn't recommend, not in that way, but I got what you said.
Yeah, get the Message Bible.
Yes, okay.
So you don't struggle.
Right. So, and then also with what we were talking about, how people try to enforce the Bible and say, this is the book, this is the Holy Grail. Mm-hmm. I guess what I think about that is that some people, we're all sinners, right? And we all, not we all, but some people judge sinners for sinning differently.
No, we all sinners.
Right. Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. That's what I meant.
Oh, yeah.
And I just kind of...
How about this? Let's say, I'm messing with you. But how would you say we all humans?
What do you mean? We are all humans.
Yeah, but the reason with the sinner, the language we use, not your language, well, I'm a sinner. I mean, as a human being, it is a trap. It is.
Like you're saying, I'm not trying to put
Not
that
you.
out.
No, not you. I'm saying your language and framing comes from a place. It doesn't originate with you. It's what you inherited, right?
That's what I'm saying.
No, yeah, you've inherited this language. And what I rather say is there's this line after the flood and God got convicted by God's decision. We don't talk about that. You know, it said, and God regretted what God had done. Now, that little line in the Old Testament, I could teach for 3 hours on. You know why? Because the first thing I'm going to do is assault your assumptions about God. And those of you who are here who think God knows everything. Because y'all in here. God knows everything. Don't lie, because I ain't trying to destroy you. Because if so, I'm going to teach. Just don't lie, put your hands up. God knows everything, predestines everything, knows what you're going to do before you do it. Come on. You can't believe that, brother. You cannot believe that. Not you. You do. All right, put your hands. Let me see you again. Keep your hands up. I want them to be hands. And if you get tired, do this. Because I need to keep your hands up. Real talk. Real talk. Keep them up. 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 Okay. Now I'm going to walk there because I know there's about another 20 of y'all who believe it, but you don't want to feel I'm going to do something. So whoever's in that group, know I see you. Because the ones here, give me the courageous people right here. No, I'm trying to tell you because I'm going to keep your hands up for a minute. Because I got to identify y'all. All right. Now we in a church. God knows everything. Let me come down, my brother here. No, keep your hands up. No, I like that. Because this is what happens when you sit in front of me. You're in trouble. Okay, keep your hands up, right? God knows all. And predestinate, God knows everything before it happens. Believe that? Okay. Okay. You can't do this with me. You can't give me the wavering. You can't, it ain't sometime. Because I'm coming now. I'm ready now. All right? I want you to hold this. Now, I want you to hold this belief. If you and Taneza, these are partners right here. Because if I just want to cause you to think about what you believe. Because I don't think you've thought about it. I don't think many Christians think about this. They've been told this. Okay? So let's think about this. God knows everything. God knows all things. Before it even happened, right? And God is in control, right? Would you say that? Is God in control? Who said yes? So God is in control. God knows all things. So like if you were leaving here and whatever, God knew that was going to happen. You do. So God knows everything, all things. What's going to happen, he knows it, right? God knows it. All knowing. I'm sick of y'all too. Taneza, what's your name now? Joshua. Joshua Taneza. I'm going to keep y'all. These are my two students. Keep your hands up. Don't put your hand. I told you, do some of this. Do this. I'm going to give you a break in a few seconds. Y'all ready? You watch this? Okay. How does an all-knowing God regret? Help me understand that. Because regret is when you've done something and it turns out a particular way, and now you're rethinking what you did. Is that fit the category for God? No. Now we would Bible. Go find after.
The question is, in Hebrew, didn't it say that he regret that he made mankind? Does it truly say in Hebrew?
Yes, the word there for lament. God lamented his decision. How do you lament? How do you lament? Or how about this, Taneza? How does go look it up. How does God change God's mind? Because I can show you them verses. You want them verses too? Because I give you them too. I'm going to give you the regret verse and the change mind verse. Because God knows all, right? Oh, no, keep the hand up. No, I want to pause for a second from your research. Watch this. You ready? You ready for this? Okay, you following me still? In the beginning, God created everything, right? Okay. And God created, who's the first person? Adam. Which story you believe in terms? Like, You believe the first creation and the second creation story? Because the first one is where he get woman from a rib, and the second one is when he created them at the same time. So which one you believe? Because there's two different stories in Genesis. So which one you believe? The first one or the second one? I'm just asking. It's just curious. So you believe that God created men and women at the same time? You don't. So you believe the creation story of woman came from the God put Adam to sleep and he took a rib. You believe that. And why do you believe that? Why do you believe that? Why do you believe that? No, you didn't always. Whoa. You did not always believe that. If you always believed it, means you were born with that belief. So you didn't always believe it. There came a time you were told it and then you accepted it. Exactly, that's a better statement. I accepted it. You can't say I always believed it. All right, there was a point you accepted it. Now, when you accepted it, how old were you around? And you telling me 6-year-old Taneza ain't never grow up yet? You ain't grow past your 6-year-old self? Well, you just accepted it? You accepted Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus? You ain't accept past that? You mean you accept that Santa Claus ain't real because you were told that, but then you still just accept what you were told at 6? No investigation on your point? Okay, good. So you believe. Now there's 2 creation stories now, seminarian, and you choose to believe one of them. There's 2 creation stories, but you choosing one over the other. What makes the one better than the other? But you choosing one. So you believe that one. Okay, let's go with it. Creation. Here, I'm going to keep Joshua and Taneza here. God creates Adam, creates woman from a rib. All right? They disobey God. When they disobeyed God, what was the punishment? And what else? And which is the justification for why a woman is in pain. It's not biological, it's God said it would be so. So before that, there was no pain in childbirth. Okay, fine. That's fine. I'm going to go with you there. You're forgetting the big part. The disobedience. Death enters the equation because of this. Because prior to the story, prior to disobedience, we're going to live forever. Stay with the story. Right? God knows all-knowing. So God created human beings to kill them? Because that means he knew they were going to disobey. He knew the penalty for disobedience would be kicked out what he created and kill them what he birthed. So you believe that God knew everything? He knew they were going to disobey. So I created you to kill you. Why you don't? If he knew they were going to do it. Oh, no. You can't say God knows. Hold on. Well, what is free will? If God knows what's going to happen to you when you walk, what free will do you have? Do you really have free will? If God knows, you're saying you believe in the all-knowing God who predestines everything. What free will do you have? Play your role and be quiet. You don't have free will. You cannot say you have free will, but God controls all. He don't control you because you got free will. So how does God control him? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Dominion over fish. We ain't talking about dominion over fish. I need you, Joshua. I need you to answer if God knows all, controls all, and well, hold on. But what is all knowing and all Oh, wait a minute. So God can be aware, but he still lets us make our own decisions. So then that is not all knowing. So you mean all knowing? I asked you if God is going to know what's going to happen when you leave here and walk outside. We don't pray to God. We don't pray to God with questions. That's a fraud. So who taught you how to pray? Because you can have a conversation with God. No. Why would you ask for purpose? Just ask God. Why would you ask for those questions if you think God knows everything, gonna control everything? What the questions you got? This is what I'm saying. I asked you, when you walk out, do you believe God knows what's gonna happen when you walk out? If God knows what's gonna happen to you and what you're gonna do when you walk out of here, what free will you got? You don't have free will in your definition of it. God knows all. If you leave here today and let's say you got fired from your job. God knew that, huh? God knew he was about to get fired. Pause. That's the issue. That's what sends Christians turn on themselves. Let's give the real scenario. God controls all. God knows all. There's nothing that happens that God is not in control of until your child is molested. And then the question becomes, well, God, why didn't you? See, the way you believe is what will have you in a crisis in that moment. Because you'll be like, well, God, why didn't you stop this? Because now that becomes a natural question. Why didn't you stop it? Because didn't you see this coming? Why didn't you want me not to drop my daughter, my son over here? Why didn't you let me? Why? What's the randomness of God that God intervenes? Why didn't you intervene, God? Did you not know that this was going to happen? Oh, by the way, the person who molested the child must have got permission from God too. Because you can't just do anything you want. That's free will, right? So the person who molested must have had God's permission because, that's free will. This always seems neat when we say it. But life complicates our religious assumptions. The question, you know what the real question is? Why do you need God to know everything? And why do you need God to be in control of everything? What is it about yourself that you're afraid of? Why do I need God to be in control? The way we think, and let me go deeper. Now let me go philosophically. That was pragmatic. Let me go philosophically. All right? This is everybody. I'm coming to you. Read Mark 4, 1 and 2. Now watch this. Watch it. I like the look on your face. I deal with this for 30-something years. I love it. See, this make me feel like I'm back in 2007 or something. This is good. And I don't leave you like this, by the way. I don't leave you like this. Go ahead, read. Read it. Chapter 4, verse 1 and 2. This is when it gets gooder.
Now the man knew his wife, Eve.
No. I'm sorry. Mark 4. That's why you left it. I was like, wait a minute. And the man knew his wife. Wait, Mark? That's one of the things I was going to read tonight. Mark 4.
Again, he began to teach beside the sea. Mm-hmm. Such a very large crowd gathered around him that he got into a boat on the sea and sat there, while the whole crowd was beside the sea on the land.
Okay, stop there. Stop there. You read what?
Verse 4 of chapter 4. Verse 1 of chapter 4.
Verse 1 of chapter 4. How did you read it?
How they read it?
Yeah. How do you know? How did you read that? How did you read that?
Read what it said?
No, how did you read it? Like, how did you come? Can you help him? How did he read it? We were taught to read. You started with what? You started with what? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Right? And that would be called what language?
English.
English language. And you were taught this.
Yes.
Then as you progress, you start putting sentences together. Then you start understanding syntax. Who created English? God?
No. He allowed it.
Did God create English?
No.
Human beings did. Okay, good. All right, y'all with me. Human beings create language. Okay. So human beings created language. We're good there. So that means language, would you call that a human construct?
Yes.
Oh. Now, language itself is what you would call, I'm going to go back to basic. Language itself is a signifier. A signifier does not communicate the thing of itself. It signifies to it. For example, what is this?
Chair.
Why is it a chair?
Because that's what we're talking.
Yeah. Does chair capture what this is? Or is chair the language given to give you a sense of understanding what it is?
It was a language given.
There you go. That's language. Language is a construct. It's a signifier. It never captures the thing in and of itself. It just signifies what the thing is. But it's not the thing. Chair, the word chair is not this. But the word chair signifies what this is. You got me? So the word chair is not that, but it's the word given to signify for you what this is that you learn from your ABCs, putting words together and says again, right? Okay, good. What do you know this to be? What do you know? Come on, y'all all in business. A box of tissue. That's what you know this to be. How do you know this is a box of tissue?
I don't want that mic.
She all right? So how do you know this is a box of tissue?
The shape, the appearance, the dimensions, and you
See
see
the
the
tissue.
tissues coming out. Yep.
So if there's no tissue, what is it called still?
It's still a box.
Of what? Nothing.
Even the absence of it doesn't take away the fact that it
Right.
could hold a tissue.
So what is this?
A tissue.
Is that word tissue actually capture this? No. It's a signifier. So when I pick this up, because the word doesn't capture the essence of anything, it signifies it. So when I say to you, is this a tissue? Well, you're not going to go and tell me how they made it, to break down what material they got this from, But so that means then that your word tissue does not capture the essence of what this thing is, but it gives you a framework of engagement linguistically, right?
I agree.
So watch this word. Ready for this word? God. Does that word capture the essence of the thing? Or just a signifier to help you be able to kind of, okay, let me go further now. We hope it don't happen soon, but we all know we're finite, right? We good with that? Is God finite? God is what? Infinite. Now, if I say to you, if you say to me rather, I know this is a tissue. I know it's a tissue because it's the language constructed by who again? Human beings. Because English is a human construct. Language is a human construct. Because see, we would walk around thinking that when God said, let there be, he was using English. Or that God spoke at all. And right here on tissue. So I say it's a tissue from within the framework of a human construct called language that is a signifier of something, not the essence of it. Now, I know this in a limited way because I'm what? Finite. If God is infinite, how do I know what it means to know for God? Because to know for me is based on a language construct that has limits and definitions. How do I, a finite being, actually know what to know is for God?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't.
So how then can you sit here and say what God knows? You say God is all-knowing, not me. You said that, and you just said you don't know, but you said it very proudly. God is all-knowing. And just now, in 5 minutes, your theology just shifted. Because you just realized the limits of your language. You can't know what it means for God. So you don't even know what it means for an infinite being to know anything, because your knowing is within certain limited construct. You know that's a chair because somebody was told you put C-H-A-I-R together, chair. What does that mean to God? What does that mean? So how do we finite beings step into the realm of infinity and say what knowing is for God? When knowing is always based on a construct. Do you know your ABCs? Yes. Do you know what 2 + 2 is? What? Yeah, that's a construct. How do you know what God knows? So when we say God is all-knowing, we are trying to tap into the infinite, bring the infinite down to controllable realm, and then say God knows everything because he knows more than me. We don't know what to know means. How then can we say God knows all, knows what's going to happen before? Let me go churchy. Here's what the Bible says. David put it this way, 1,000 years are but as a day in your sight, oh God. We don't even know what time is. Time is a construct with infinitude. We don't even know what time means for God. It doesn't. Time is a creation. What time is it right now? We just made that up and agreed to that because of what we've been told. We don't really know what time it is. But so that we don't feel helpless and out of control in this world, we create language and all these things to give us a feeling of control and some sense of calm. Because you're going to be out here walking around, well, it's dark. We put a whole time piece together. We got people paying $30,000 for some made-up theory. Here's $30,000. Let me get this Rolex piece to do what? Tell time? Time? Well, you got that in box? You captured it? Point is that for God, we don't know what to know is. For us, we do. Because if I say, do you know the basic principles of trigonometry? You're like, no, you don't know it. But it was constructed so you can know it. But here's. God, here's how one philosopher put it, is the unmoved mover. The unseen see. God, nothing activates God, but God activates all things. So how do you step into a realm and actually put definitive answers about a God you don't know? You know of God and you experience what you know to be God, but you could be like, I feel it. Maybe you didn't eat. My point is that we do not have any sense of humility. That's why people fight in wars over religion. There's no humility. We believe that what we believe is accurate, and they believe what they believe is accurate. We're going to fight it out. Not thinking somehow we all got on this earth, and so let's figure out how we operate together. But it's because we hold on to these definite things. Now, let me ask you, say what Rene Descartes said, philosopher. Go back to the Adam and Eve story. If you believe God knows all, it means you then believed God knew what they were going to do. Let us make man in our own image. Now, that's the deeper question. Because in our image, does it mean in our image entails flaws? In our image, does it entail free will? Or is in our image just aesthetics? Because if it's aesthetics, that means there's no image. Because God, there's all these multitude of appearances. So what does in our image mean? It can't be about looks. What does that mean? And our likeness. What does that mean? Now, we could be in church for 10, 20 years and nobody would talk about that. We made the image of God, fearfully, wonderfully made, and we go on and on. Okay, I'm with that because I say it. But I also understand what this language is. And I know what we make God to be often juxtaposed to what we are not. We create this idea. Human beings create the idea that we use of God, not God. Can't create that. But if we can't create God, that means when we talk about God, that's created. And all of it is an attempt to create stories around a being that we don't really know. Here come the writer again. God is saying this. My thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways. As far as the heaven is separated from earth, so are my thoughts from yours. This is God, according to the writer. So how are we telling what God knows? We don't. We do know how we can live. Now, wait a minute. So am I going to spend my days trying to figure out now? Because now all of a sudden, my assumptions I've been carrying, 6 gets disrupted. Now I might sit around, what do I do now? What do I do? My belief, I'm going to say trash them all. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to trash all the beliefs, all the things they told you. Oh my God. And then I'll push you somewhere else. I'll push you into the presence of this little poor man. By the way, he don't say things like God knows all. He don't say things like we say, or we've been told to say, or we've been taught to say. So when I ask, what did he come for? Well, first thing, if you're going to be seriously Bible person, you're going to say, well, we said he came that it might have life, have it more abundantly. And then he begins to teach about what it means to be in interaction with one another. So Jesus is not about religion as we understand it. Jesus is about how do we live in ways that promote love and justice and equality. Like, this is about how you show up in this world. Because a whole lot of people who are going to say God knows all and God does all ain't going to sit around here and say, yeah. Because the problem with that is that belief that God knows all and sees all is really problematic in some bad cases. Because then, as a black person, I gotta really, if that's what God really does, I gotta really have some conversation with that God. You know all and see all, and you can know all and see all, but apparently you can't stop all. Because here's question number 1. Why slavery? Since you know all and see all. Why was that okay? Why did you not stop that? Since you know all, see all, and control all. Now, if you believe that, then you might believe what them folks coming over to Africa saying, that they want some kind of holy mission to civilize the savages. And God was down with that, since God didn't stop it. Or just like the scenario of the young girl who's in the real talk, I had this real talk, who was trying to process why God let her daughter be molested. And I said, why do you think that? I was told that God controls everything and knows everything. And if God knows and controls everything, my question is, why didn't God stop that man from molesting my daughter? Fair question. What you gonna tell her? He had free will? What you gonna tell her? Either God didn't stop it, which makes it just God didn't care. But then here comes another person walks in and says, you know what? I had a feeling this man would try to do X, Y, Z to my daughter, and I got her away from him. Or another mother on the same pew who someone tried to molest her, and a cousin stopped it. So now I got 2 children. One gets molested. Cousin stops this one. So the question becomes, why did God send a mechanism to stop on this one, but not this one? Because that leads me to some other questions. So now God is random? What's the criterion to make God save my child? See, the ideas of God actually get neatly packaged until a real crisis hits. And all the theology people have been told gets turned upside down because you got to have answers. And you can't be like, it was part of God's permissive will for your child to be molested. Right. Or, let's go further. Let's go further. A little boy who I had to funeralize in this building, whose father left him with a girlfriend because he got taken to jail, lived in an apartment downtown, like on the 15th floor, had a balcony. The woman ties the boy up in the wintertime outside on the banister of that balcony with no coat, and then when brought him inside, took her cigarette and burnt the boy all over his body with cigarettes. What do I say? I mean, I guess here's a fool. I guess God needed him. Or God knew best. You think that worked for that father? Or that God? That don't work. That's cute stuff. But that don't help that father who, by the way, they had to bring him in here from prison in chains to see his dead child, knowing that the woman who had did that to him. So now you got the mother who's here, who had to go identify that child's body, who didn't know that the father got arrested and left him in someone else's care. And you know what happened that night? What happened that night outside this church? Whole fight. Somebody got stabbed. 2 families fighting. Right in front of church. Crazy. I'm talking pulling out knives and everything. Right in front of church. You see, the concept and the ideas that we hold don't always stand up to even God's test. When you see things in the Bible or read things, it was not that these things may not have happened, but these are primitive people writing stories that somehow they tried to make sense of this God thing. These are primitive people. Primitive. Right? Whose life expectancies were short. And we are now in the 21st century not seeking to understand why these stories were created, how did they come about, who wrote this story, who constructed it, who to say the book of Genesis is written by 4 different groups of writers, the first 5 books of the Bible are not written by Moses. Like all these things you go to school to learn so that you can teach. But now the decision you got to make is whether or not you're going to do what I'm doing, which is to challenge people to think about what they're saying, or you just go along because you don't want to disrupt them to keep your job. Happens all the time. So it's not just the training that matters, it's the training plus the conviction to empower your people. So training plus conviction. I've seen people who train and convicted, no matter. So I'm not saying God is problematic. I'm saying a lot of God talk is problematic. So what do you say? Ludwig Wittgenstein, who was a philosopher, said, in the presence of things we do not know, we ought to remain silent. But that ain't gonna work neither, because I got something to say. You can say it, but with humility, not with the kind of certainty that leads to antagonism and fighting. I understand that this is a book written by people under the limited, in the vortex of language, understanding that the best attempts they make will never fully capture the essence of who God is. And I also know these are stories written by particular people about how they understand how Yahweh has interacted with them. This book ain't gonna tell me nothing about the Amalekites, the Jebusites, the Moabites. It's not their book. So going to Dominique, it's the Jewish book. It's a history of the Hebrew people. That's the Old Testament. That's all Jesus had, was that those sacred scriptures. But when you get to this construction of the New Testament, it's shaped around this figure called Jesus. He dominates the New Testament. He's Jewish, but his teaching transcends Judaism. It's bigger than Judaism. I'm going to go back to where I started with Dominique. What was the intention? Now, what happens is that Christians will get caught up. Well, was it 1 or 2 creations? Well, when you get to Isaiah, was it 1st, 2nd, or 3rd Isaiah who wrote this passage? Well, who wrote actually the book of Ephesians? Because it doesn't say Paul really wrote it. All those things are true. That's part of the investigation. That's part of the work you do as a teacher. For me, that's part of the work that you do. But it's also to free people up to start thinking differently. If we say Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and Jesus died for me, then what did Jesus have to say about these things of life? It's like we had last week, something about the 10 Commandments. If you understand how they were written and why they were written, you would not walk around here talking about, so we need to put them in the classroom. Those are people who are trying to use it to control folk. But the 10 Commandments are given to a people fresh out of slavery who don't know how to treat one another because all they know is the ways of the oppressor. Let me build community with these rules to govern yourselves by. Because if not, you're going to simply do it. And while he's giving Moses the rules, quote unquote, the rules, while he's giving Moses the rules, what they doing down there? What they know to do. They're making a calf because they are Egyptian slaves. They only know to do that. So if you keep the story as that, Dominique, and not like this kind, when you read it, don't read it as if I'm trying to save my life and not go to hell. It's a story. And like any story, there are things in it that ain't good, things of it that's good. There's things in it that may not feel true because, we stretch truths. People who wrote it ain't perfect people. These are people who are flawed human beings. And they wrote it under some rough conditions. Ain't no printer machine, ain't no electricity, candles, and they ain't even had good eyeglasses. God forbid you meant to put an A and it was a C. It was all in these languages. I mean, in order to fully understand scriptures, you have to read Old Testament Hebrew and New Testament Greek to understand in the original language. It changes. But then you see, when you see if you see the original Greek for certain things that Jesus said, and then you compare it to the English, it's totally different for many of it. Not everything, but for many. Like, for example, in Greek, there's no comparable word in English for the. No comparable word in Greek for what we say. Like I say, the phone or the jacket, right? There's no word like that for the. So when I read, they say Jesus said, I am the way. And I know in the Greek, there is no the there. Change the whole meaning of that book now. Because the way suggests the only way. A way suggests there are more ways. That changes the game again. So what I'm saying is that I had a friend of mine, I shared this before, had a friend of mine who went to seminary and then did a PhD in New Testament. And he was like, hey, I can't do church. He said, too much ignorance in church, too many ignorant preachers. He was like, I can't do it. Because they don't know enough to be teaching Bible study. They're teaching people what they were told, or they're reading somebody else's translation. But that's hard. So you find all that going on, and what it does is not make you, for me it didn't, make me be like, oh, I can't do this Christianity thing. There's too many things about this thing. This is ridiculous. I don't need to go to seminary. It's a cemetery for real. I feel like I need to bury my faith and all this other stuff. No. It makes me realize, one, how fragile we are, but also how desperate human beings can be to access what they think is the truth. And sometimes how much we just want to be affirmed. And then another note, how much we just want to be loved. And then another note, how much we just want to have people around us. I mean, it's all these things about humanity. But there's nothing you can say that human beings create a touch that is flawless, because we would have to be flawless. If we're not flawless, that means the things we create are not flawless, including what? Language. It's not flawless and it's not without limitations. Understand that before you go telling somebody, my belief is better than yours. If you're using language, you're going to have a problem. So just be a little humble. Because there's more evidence that God, what's the language I would say? You know what I think? If you had to pin me down, well, how do you see God? You know what I see God as? How many children? You over time? How many children you got again? 3. Ages from 12, 9, 5. 12. Well, watch this. I'll never forget that again. So 3 kids, 12, 9, and 5. Watch this. Now, let me go with my son, 34, who left here earlier, right? My son is 34 years old. If at 34 years old, my son was calling me every 5 minutes for everything going on in his life. Say it again? Even though you're a parent. Good. So how do you think God feels? We come to him every 5 minutes for something going on. Your words, he didn't do his job as a parent? Well, I like when you be saying this stuff. So now flip it now. What if God, instead of knower, what if you said God is creator? Because clearly, God ain't hung up on control. Because go back to your passage about, because you said it very intensely, dominion over the fish of the sea. Blah, blah, blah. he went ham on me for a second. So dominion over the, didn't he, you heard him? Does this sound like a God who's in control or a fanatic or a narcissistic? He said, Joshua, check this. I'm going to make it, you name it. They ain't a God who is insecure. You name it. Name what you want to name it. But God creates. So what about this? God creates, right? And then is willing, like a parent, to take the risk to see what you do. What if God is waiting to see? What if God is paying attention to see? And what if Jesus comes to show you a particular way of living that he believes is pleasing to that God? And the way he shows about pleasing that God is not about perfection, not making mistakes. It boils down to how do you treat the person next to you? That's what it boils down to. Maybe that's what pleases God, to see how we treat one another. But at the same time, know that we have the option to make choices. But the Bible, Dominic, is strange, because you like two sisters sleep with their father. It's crazy. Right? It's really crazy. The Bible got some wild stories. You know, Noah, drunk. You know, his daughter, Noah, these things is wild. Right? Or how about this one? Here's one. God created Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve, I just preached about this, had two sons. What's their name? Cain and Abel. Cain kills Abel. God says, you out, homie. Done. You saw the story. He said, man, if you send me out here, they may kill me. Wait a minute. Who's that? Where they come from? Because I know right now it's Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel. And then how I push it some further. Then he gets banished, protected, and he find a wife. Where'd she come from? She's a cousin. It's like, you see, simple things are not answered in the Bible, but it should let you know at that point what the agenda is. It's not giving no world history. It's giving it gives you Hebrew mythology. Because in the Bible, when these scriptures are written in the estimation, it's thousands of years after they believe the creation happened. What? Kids always get that. Sunday school questions jack you up. Where did Cain's wife come from? Here come the Sunday school teacher. Listen, don't question God. Don't do that. Don't question God. This is how we do, though. Don't question God. Don't question God. It's be some simple things that kids could ask and confound all your theology. Where they come from? So what it is that the reason why I am a Jesus fanatic, and not in the kind of way that you'd be like, oh, you going to hell if you don't believe. I have no investment in that. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in telling you, well, if you do this, you're going to hell. If you do this, you're going to heaven. Because Jesus complicated that for me, that kingdom of God within stuff. That complicated everything for me back in the days. I was like, the kingdom of God within? So where we going to go? But then, on Ash Wednesday, when we do the imposition of the ashes, we sit down here and what do we say? From dust you were created, and to dust you shall return. We just said it. You got a dusty future. Deal with it. Deal with it. You got people who believed at one point in history to this day that when the rapture come, that was supposed to come a week and a half ago. See, some of y'all in here too young, right? Because 2000. Come on, Y2K, world gonna go. We done. I remember folk in the supermarkets buying water and canned goods. Because 2000, computer gonna sit down, get your cash, get your cash. Make sure you get, because the bank's gonna go down, ATM machines gonna go down, everything gonna stop. We run around here, people gonna get water empty out the supermarket. I went to Kroger's, couldn't find no water, just gone. Y2K came. Now we laugh. Some of y'all was not laughing on New Year's Eve, 1999. I wasn't playing that. We gotta get prayed up because he's coming. It's all these things we do. I know we're here late, but my point is I like this journey because I want to demystify the faith, but then fill it with something very concrete. I really don't know how long it took God to create this thing. I don't know that. You don't either. And guess what? The person who wrote it don't either. Because days suggest chronology. Chronology suggests time. Time is a human construct. So how are you going to order God to day 1, day 2, day 3? David said 1,000 years is but as a day. I'm scared now. Did it take 6,000 years? So I don't know that one. I don't know, the mysteries of this. The most amazing, miraculous thing that you experience every day is you. You look at your body. I ain't mean like that, cause I gotta lose like 10 pounds, Pastor. No, I mean the intricacy of your eye. How do you see? It's little things you didn't know as a kid coming up that you see. Because somehow this thing lets enough light in to project. See, what the scripture said is this: when somebody can see, their eyes grew dim. That means that it's true. And you know how you know you get old? Let me show you how you know you get old. When you go to the restaurant, you gotta hit this right here. You be talking about something. Whether you know it or not. And that's what glasses are. Your eyes are growing dim. When you hit, because that means you just need more light. The light comes project through your eye, but now it ain't working right, so I'm like this, right? This body, this is not a doctor. Who's doctor? Any doctors in here? All right, nurses? Oh, we ain't got no, I hope nobody pass out. Doctors cannot tell you why the heart beats. I can't tell you that. They can't fully explain with certainty, how is it if you die, I can take your heart, put it in my heart, and the sucker start thumping again. They can't tell you that. They just know it does. That's powerful to me. That's powerful. There's so many things about us that are so unbelievable. Even me, like, how was it that I was born with no antibody? That's amazing. And then survive for 50-something years. Right? You can't explain some things. So I don't want to be in the business of trying to give these finite explanations of things that we don't really know. But what I will tell you this, here's what I will tell you, we'll end this. What I will tell you, there's something powerful when I learn to treat you the way I want to be treated. There's something beautiful that if I see you in need, I share what I have. Go back to your words. There's something powerful in that. That when I see somebody who seems lost, I make them feel welcome. Something powerful in that. That when you're hungry, my humanity and my faith cannot sleep well knowing you're hungry and you're right next to me. Right? This is what Jesus is teaching. That's the focal point of the faith. How do we learn to love one another and care for one another in love? And if you ain't talking about that, you can't be talking about the same Jesus I know. All these rules we try to attach to it, well, do you say it like this? Do you say it like that? I'm convinced this is what they were coming to Jesus with. The truth of the matter is in church, we probably more Pharisees than we are disciples, and that's okay because Pharisees can be converted. That's the work. That's the work of this movement. And that's what it was in Jesus' day. It was a movement. It wasn't religious. It was a movement. You had people who were Jewish, people who were Gentiles, people of all walks who followed this man's teachings after his death, before Christianity even comes about. They living in a way, they build a community, they eating together, they're bathing in the ocean. They are learning how to live in community. That's what he's talking about. And I don't care if you say, well, I'm Buddhist or well, you know, I'm Hindu. I've had some of the most amazing conversations with people flying. And I try not to tell them I'm a preacher. Not because I'm ashamed, because it changes the discourse. So you tell somebody you're a pastor, now they want to tell you how much you read the Bible and, you know, well, my grandfather was a preacher and this is talk regular. I had my grand to Wendy's and we're sitting in Wendy's and there's this man who comes up to pick up an order. And they must have got the order wrong. Now, the people behind the counter were Latino, and the man was too. I sat there and watched this man curse this woman out, old enough to be his mother. Curse her out, you idiot. He had some expletives in there. I said, I didn't want no F in this and that. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, Lord. I was like, but it got to me. Now, my first thought was, this dude never been punched in the face before. That's my first thought, because maybe that little punch in the face will help you understand you don't talk to nobody like that. That's my first thought. But then I was so hurt because I looked at this woman. When he walked out, she started crying. I was disgusted. God knew that was going to happen. Did God know that was going to happen? This woman who's sitting there, we don't know why she is. She had to be in her 60s, sitting there working at Wendy's. I don't know the situation. The man cursed out for no reason because she made a mistake. She walks away crying. God knew that was going to happen. No. People do what they want to do. And we hope that we live in such a way that we don't do things like that. Because I instantly thought of being at a Chipotle when I saw that happen. My daughter's with me. And on that occasion, I did not restrain myself. Now, I didn't put my hands on nobody, but I was kind of hoping he wanted to.
And claim self-defense.
Right. He just had to do this, and it would have been a whole avalanche. Yeah, but I don't think that on that day, God knew that that man would do that to that woman because she didn't deserve it. We can't handle that we have freedom. So we got to create constraints. And what Jesus says, you got freedom. Do what you want to do. But I hope you choose this path. And in this country, you may be willing to suffer certain circumstances or consequences. But I'm going to stop there. This was so good for me tonight. I never got to my handouts. See how nice they were? This was so good. Now I don't have to do anything. No, we're not giving them. I'm doing it next to it. But these were so nice. It was the title of it was the soil of the soul. Parable of the sower. This was going to be really good, so I'm going to hold it. Now I ain't got to do nothing. So when you get it next week, I don't want to see the smart-eyed person saying, Pastor, say October 14th. It's the 21st. That's the kind of stuff we do. The date wrong. You got the wrong date on here. That's how we do. No homework. We're going to say no homework for the night. We're going to read through this. But this is actually the kind of conversation that I live for. I live for these conversations because I see myself as a true teacher of this way. And sometimes in order to learn, you got to unlearn. You got to unlearn some things in order to learn. But I can't be 54 years old, still walk around with my Sunday school sensibilities. We got to grow and keep growing together. Doesn't matter about age. We just got to grow together. You know what I mean? So, all right, let's stand. See, y'all got me here too late. It's your fault, Dominique. I want that. That was part of I was posturing. No, so we could take him, put him out in front. I'll tell folks. Let me read this. This brother, because the brother don't think I played him. He wanted to give me this about November 5th, October 15th. Oh, that's tomorrow. A mass organizing forum. Nah, we ain't doing that. No, don't do that. Don't do that. All right, let's go to God. God, we thank you. We honor you on tonight, oh God. So grateful, oh God, for just this time. God, this journey is so beautiful and so powerful. There is nothing better than growing and expanding the way we see this world and the way we see one another. God, in this walk, there's so many people who are fighting over who's right and whose faith is wrong and who's going to hell and who's going to heaven. And all the while, we're forgetting how to treat one another. Thank you for the teachings of Jesus, oh God, that push us to a place of living with love so that who you are, where you're from, or what your orientation is, or whatever, is not a reason to hate, but it gives us more of a reason to be understanding. So God, we thank you for these lessons. We thank you for this moment. And God, I thank you for those who remained in here, who thought it important enough to stay here so that we can grow together. We love you, God. And this is in your name we pray. Amen. Okay, so here's what we got to do. Y'all kept me here to 9-something this week. So I'm going to start alternating. One Tuesday, we're going to go to this. The other Tuesday, we're going to go to 8:30. So remember last week, I ended at 8:27. So it is doable. So that's my aim next week, 8:30. Y'all with me? You said no? Okay, well, then I'm leaving at 8:30.